Yo, back again. Hope everyone is well, healthy, filled with life. Yeah, so if you didn't know already, my name is Jack. I've been through some quite serious mental health issues in my past. That is water under the bridge at this point, in the sense that it all happened about 6 years ago for me. I was sectioned 2 times into a mental hospital, and it wasn't great overall as an experience, but I have learned a lot, and this is why I'm here today, just to share my take on some of these things related to mental health. So today I kind of wanted to talk about why mental health is so difficult to navigate in a modern world like today, in a westernized modern world, and also why the system is so difficult to get right, because there's so many different variables and moving parts when it comes to assessing someone at the start for what their problem is, as well as treating them, as well as reintegrating them into society. So that's kind of like the 3 stages that I like to summarize the whole kind of process by. So for me, in short, I was assessed. I was pretty bad. I was very dire. So I had to go under extreme measures to fix my issues in the hospital. But the problems kind of start to arise by the way in which these solutions are imposed onto people. So you don't get much choice when you're thrown into one of these hospitals. You are literally just given a bunch of medication, pills, all sorts, that you don't really know half of what is going inside your body at this point. You have a set doctor who you're meant to trust, and you kind of just follow his lead, really, or her lead, in the sense of what to take, when to take, how much to take, all of these kind of things. So you are kind of quite helpless in these situations, and because unfortunately services like the NHS here in the UK don't have enough money and enough staff to really intensely assess someone's situation from all angles. So to be completely honest, they are pretty thorough in the way that they do carry out these assessments, but I feel like they miss certain angles that are still extremely important and could be detrimental in someone's situation. I feel like it is all very regimented into a scientific kind of conclusion, rather than combining that. In my opinion, the best way to kind of assess someone would be to also think about other factors that might be less maybe seen as less rational, a bit more like holistic and spiritual. Because if I'm being completely honest, I do believe that these mental hospitals should not be built and operated in the way in which they are currently, because if I'm being completely honest, a lot of the time people get worse inside these places, and that is not the idea. The idea is to make these people better, and then be able to reintegrate them back into society. So in my opinion, I believe these places should be a lot less like a hospital and more like a retreat, more like a, you know, being connected with nature, being, you know, being somewhat grounded to something that is more profound than oneself. So, you know, if I had a say in you know, in building these places, I would say don't put them in the middle of a city center. I know there's so many factors that come into this, but don't put them in the middle of a city center. And if it was to be, then like somewhere that is quite, you know, quite tranquil, quite you know, just a place of peace, because like a lot of these you know, the environments affect people heavily when they are in these situations mentally. So you know, an environment that doesn't feel peaceful, that feels disruptive, is gonna just do further harm to the patients inside. So really, I feel like methods should be reconsidered, because, you know, it's still the class. It's still literally probably how you imagine them is how they are. Literally, you know, there's fences outside that bend around, you know, to stop people climbing over. There's you know, there's locks everywhere. There's a lot of like negative type you know what I mean? It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot for someone going through something like that, and really you want to instill a peace in someone's mind when they're going through something like this. And it's just, yeah, from my experience, I feel like these places can be redesigned in a way that is a lot more fluid, and in my opinion, I believe the results would be better overall. But yeah, let's talk about a little bit about reintegration into society after you come out of one of these places, because normally the case is that you're still on medication when you come out. And for instance, I was told that I would be on medication indefinitely, so I had no idea when I'd be taken off. I reckon I'm going to touch on the medication side maybe in a future video, because that's a whole kind of rabbit hole in itself. But to be honest, there is quite a lot of support here in the UK with the NHS. Like, I had a care support worker, I had a care coordinator, they're called, which is basically just like a kind of like a therapist in a way, but also someone that sorts out all of the paperwork, all the boring stuff for like government kind of, you know, whether it's funding, whether it's, you know, freedom passes, all of these kind of things. There is quite a lot of extra support for people in these situations. So I do feel like they are definitely vigilant of reintegration, and they understand how important it is. But I feel like the disconnect normally comes with maybe again the way in which it is portrayed to someone in that situation. So for me, even though I did have quite a lot of support, I did feel like it was still a bit of a chore to have to go to these meetings. And I feel like, again, the environment that these meetings were held in were not pretty, you know. Like, I used to see a guy on Goulburn Road, actually, and it was like in a little basement, like a little dingy basement. There was no natural light, there was no like, there was nothing inspirational in this place. But again, it was meant to instill that very fact into someone in that situation. So again, I feel like it is the way in which these things are being done. I feel like the underlying sentiment is there, but it's almost like the way in which it is portrayed is just as important as what is being portrayed. So for me, I really I took matters more into my own hands when it came to reintegration back into just everyday life. And that was because I didn't have full belief in what people were telling me, and I managed to come out in a place where I feel like I'm you know, back to normality in a sense. But yeah, I do think it's an extremely difficult task, but I feel like because it is becoming ever more prevalent that people are going through certain situations, that it is increasingly more important that more thought is put into these very, very pivotal processes to the overall process. And again, you know, like to solve these things, you know, I don't know if it's just a money thing. Like if there was more funding that would like literally lead to, you know, straight results. I feel like maybe it is also a strategy thing. I feel like maybe, you know, the people in charge need to be a little bit more in touch with people like myself maybe, or to really streamline these things. Obviously with the money as well, like that combination could really change some things for the better. And yeah, that was kind of my just little insight into the whole kind of the whole process from kind of from start to finish, really, when it comes to a situation like this. And yeah, I hope that shed a little bit more light for anyone watching. Yeah, so again, thank you for your time, and have a great day.